A day in the life of a Roman citizen during the glory days. The Roman Empire was one of the largest and most powerful empires in the world, spanning across Europe, Asia, and Africa. Living in ancient Rome during its golden age was a truly remarkable experience. During this time, the Roman Empire boasted a population of over 50 million people, making it one of the most populous empires of the ancient world. It was a time of great achievements in engineering, architecture, art, and literature, and the Roman Empire left a lasting legacy that still influences our world today. Get ready to step back in time and experience the daily life of a Roman citizen. Population. During the peak of the Roman Empire, the population of the empire was estimated to be over 50 million people. However, the exact number of men and women during this time is difficult to determine, as there are no comprehensive records from that era. It is generally believed that men outnumbered women. In Rome itself, it is estimated that the population was around 1 million people, making it one of the largest and most populous cities in the world at that time. Women in Rome played important roles in society, from managing households to participating in religious ceremonies, and some even held positions of power in the government. However, their rights and opportunities were limited compared to men, and they were often viewed as secondary citizens. Housing. In ancient Rome, the way people lived and their housing arrangements varied greatly depending on their social class and financial status. The wealthy elites of Rome lived in large, spacious houses that were often decorated with luxurious furnishings and expensive artwork. These houses, called villas, were typically located outside of the city walls and included gardens, courtyards, and private baths. For the middle class, living conditions were less extravagant but still comfortable. They lived in multi-story apartment buildings called insulae, which were constructed of brick and concrete. These buildings often had shops and businesses on the ground floor, with living spaces on the upper floors. However, these apartments were often cramped and lacking in basic amenities such as running water and heating. The poor in ancient Rome lived in overcrowded and unsanitary tenements in the city's slums. These tenements, known as barracks or horea, were often shared by multiple families and lacked basic necessities such as clean water and proper sewage systems. Bathhouses. Bathhouses were an important part of daily life in ancient Rome, and they served as both a place for personal hygiene and social interaction. The bathhouses were grand structures that were accessible to people of all social classes, and they were often the centerpiece of a neighborhood or community. The bathhouses were typically made up of a series of rooms, each with a different function. The first room, called the apoditerium, was the changing room where patrons would disrobe and leave their clothes in lockers. The next room, the tepidarium, was a warm room where patrons would relax and acclimate to the heat. This was followed by the caldarium, a hot room with steam and hot water for bathing. Finally, there was the frigidarium, a cold room with a cold pool for cooling down after a hot bath. Water supply in ancient Rome was made possible by an extensive network of aqueducts that brought water from nearby sources to the city. The water was used for drinking, cooking, and bathing, and it was often heated by furnaces located beneath the bathhouses. The water was not always clean, however, and there were frequent outbreaks of waterborne diseases like cholera and dysentery. Sanitation in ancient Rome was a major concern, and the city struggled with waste management and hygiene. Public toilets were available, but they were often unsanitary and unhygienic, leading to the spread of diseases. Despite these challenges, ancient Romans were innovative in their approach to public health, and they implemented a number of measures to improve sanitation, including public fountains and sewer systems. The aqueducts also played a role in sanitation, as they allowed for the flushing of waste out of the city. Entertainment was an important part of daily life in ancient Rome during its golden age. The Romans enjoyed a wide range of activities, from theater and chariot races to gladiator fights and animal hunts. Many of these activities were held in large public venues like the Colosseum, which could hold up to 50,000 spectators. Theater was a popular form of entertainment in ancient Rome, and it was enjoyed by people of all social classes. The most popular types of plays were comedies and tragedies, and they were often performed in open-air theaters. Actors wore masks to help convey different emotions and characters, and the plays often tackled themes like politics, love, and family relationships. Chariot races were another popular form of entertainment in ancient Rome, and they were held in large circuses, like the Circus Maximus. The races were high-energy events, with teams of charioteers competing against each other in intense races around a track. The races were often dangerous and injuries were common, but they were still hugely popular with the crowds. Gladiator fights were perhaps the most controversial form of entertainment in ancient Rome. Gladiators were trained fighters who battled each other in large arenas, like the Colosseum. The fights were often brutal, and they could end in death for one or both of the fighters. Despite the dangers, gladiator fights were hugely popular with the crowds, and they were seen as a symbol of Roman strength and power. Animal hunts, or venaciones, were also a popular form of entertainment in ancient Rome. These events involved releasing wild animals, like lions or bears, into an arena and having trained hunters or gladiators fight them. Like gladiator fights, animal hunts were seen as a symbol of Roman strength and power, but they were also controversial and criticized by some for their cruelty. Religion. The Romans were deeply religious people, and they believed in a wide range of gods and goddesses who had specific roles and responsibilities. The most important gods and goddesses in the Roman pantheon were Jupiter, Juno, and Minerva. Jupiter was the king of the gods and was associated with the sky, thunder, and lightning. Juno was the queen of the gods and was associated with marriage, childbirth, and women. Minerva was the goddess of wisdom, crafts, and war. Romans believed that the gods and goddesses could be appeased through offerings and sacrifices, and they built many temples and shrines to honor them. The priests and priestesses played an important role in Roman religion, and they were responsible for performing the rituals and sacrifices. There were also many festivals and celebrations throughout the year, which were held in honor of the gods and goddesses. Family. There was nothing great to know about ancient families, but it is great to know that they were as normal families as we have. The family was highly valued in ancient Roman society, and it played a central role in shaping Roman culture and society. The family unit typically consisted of the father, mother, and their children. Fathers were considered the head of the household and were responsible for providing for their family, while mothers were responsible for raising and educating their children, just like a normal family of today. Grocery shopping, or food procurement, was an important part of daily life in ancient Rome. Many Romans would visit the local markets or shops to purchase food and other goods. These markets were lively and bustling places filled with vendors selling everything from fresh produce to spices and oils. There were also specialized shops that sold specific goods, such as bakeries, wine shops, and butchers. Many Romans would also purchase food and other goods from door-to-door vendors who would bring their wares directly to people's homes. The types of foods that were available in ancient Rome varied depending on the season and the region. The bread was a staple of the Roman diet, and it was often made from a mixture of wheat and barley. Other common foods included olives, cheese, honey, and fruits and vegetables. It's amazing to see how much the Romans accomplished and how advanced their civilization was for its time. So let's raise a glass to the incredible achievements of the Romans and their legacy that still influences us today. While we may not have the same amenities and luxuries as the Romans did, we can still appreciate the happy and vibrant spirit they brought to their daily lives. Thanks for joining us on this adventure. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, Valete means goodbye in Latin.